Hello, children. My name is Marufa, and today I am going to teach you a very interesting lesson. But before we begin the lesson, I want you to observe the slide. What do you all notice? Yes, it is a picture depicting the Bastille Day. Now, Bastille Day is celebrated every year on the 14th of July in France. Now, do you know why is 14th of July important to the French? Yes, it is celebrated as their Independence Day. So, in order to understand why the French celebrate 14th of July as the Independence Day, let us understand the topic for today's lesson. The topic for today's lesson is called the French Revolution. Now, French Revolution marks the protest of the people against the tyrannical or the dictatorship rule of the monarchy. The revolution was inevitable as a result of the miseries caused to the people. Now, what do you understand by the term revolution? It means a dynamic change. So, France witnessed a dynamic change in the political system. Monarchy was replaced by democracy. Now, let us understand the causes of the French Revolution. France had a despotic government, and the king and the queen were tyrannical in nature. Louis XVI was the king of France, and his wife was called Marie Antoinette. Both of them led an extravagant lifestyle and hardly bothered about the needs of the people. So, this angered the people of France. The society was divided into three classes or estates. The first estate comprised of the priests or the clergy. The second estate comprised of the nobility or the aristocracy. And the third estate comprised of the common people, such as the doctors, teachers, and the middle class bourgeoisie. Now, the society was unequal in nature. The first two estates enjoyed all the privileges, while the third estate was deprived of their right, and as a result, they had to bear the burden of taxation. The first two estates were exempted from paying taxes. The French people were inspired by philosophers such as Voltaire, Rousseau, and Montesquieu. They prepared the mindset of the French people. They urged the people to organize a protest against the tyrannical rulers. The economic condition of France was not very good because it was on the verge of bankruptcy. Now, the French were also involved in the American War of Independence, and they had wasted a lot of money in the American War of Independence. The economic crisis resulted due to involvement of France in wars and other royal extravagances. There were inflation, explosion of population, which caused disaster in France. Now let us understand the course of the French Revolution. Now the king was compelled to call a meeting of the States General. In this meeting, the third estate demanded vote per capita instead of vote per order. In those days, the first two estates enjoyed all the rights and privileges. So, they always had an upper hand. As a result, the Third Estate demanded that every individual should be given voting right instead of voting as per the estates. Now, when the king rejected their demand, they declared their conference as the National Assembly on 17th June 1789. On 20th June, the National Assembly took an oath to draft a constitution of France at the tennis court. Now, 14th of July marks the beginning of the French Revolution, a violent mob. Now, what do you understand by the term mob? A mob means an unruly crowd. They attack the fort of Bastille. Now, Bastille was a state prison. It symbolized the fall of autocracy. The Constituent Assembly then framed the Constitution of France in 1791 and incorporated the rights of man and citizen. It abolished evil practices such as feudalism, tyranny, and other despotic rule that were prevalent in France at that point of time. So the French people became liberated from the dictatorship rule of Louis XVI. The political instability in the Republic led to the abolition of constitutional monarchy and establishment of democracy. Now, what do we understand by the term democracy? A democratic government means a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. So, a national convention was formed in the year 1792. The Reign of Terror was also introduced to invoke fear in the hearts of the people. King Louis XVI and his wife were guillotined. Now, why do you think this measure was incorporated? To enforce law and order in France. Now, what do we understand by the term guillotine? They were beheaded, and this rule lasted till 1794 AD. Now, Napoleon